Vice Chair Carney?
Here.
Mr. Mylart?
Here.
Mr. Hudson?
Here.
Ms. Foney?
Here.
Mr. Blackburn?
Here.
Sir, we have a quorum.
Before we go, I'll read the obligatory statement. Thank you for being here today.
Mr. Chairman, can you turn on your mic, please?
The purpose of this meeting,
Mr. Chairman, turn your mic on.
you know what it is. The purpose of this meeting is to make is to hear information from staff and applicants and citizens, and then make a recommendation to the City Council. For each agenda item, staff will first present the item. The committee and elected officials will have a chance to ask questions, and then the public will have an opportunity to make a statement. Any action taken tonight in committee meetings will be advisory only and will appear as a recommendation at the City Council meeting, in which the entire City Council will have an opportunity to vote on the matter. We want to hear what everyone has to say, but we ask that the rules of procedure are followed. Anyone who wishes to speak must step up to the microphone. You will have up to 5 minutes to make your point, make your statement. Direct your comments to the dais, to the committee, and not to individual members of the committee, staff, or anyone else in attendance. Public comment is an opportunity to hear from you. The intent is not a back and forth question and answer period. Okay, first item is to approve the minutes of May 13th meeting. Hear a motion?
Make a motion.
Second.
Any comments or questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, items requiring City Council action. 2.1.
2.1, which is a resolution to authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with Millennial Professional Services for engineering services and scope proposal for the Sports Park North parking lot expansion and soccer field lighting. So this is just, we're going to do the parking lot per the Bill O'Fallon Trust Fund. Sorry, my computer's frozen up. And so this is on the northeast corner of the park, and it's just right by baseball fields 9 and 10. And it's also to do some work for the lighting that we're going to install on soccer fields 9 and 10 as well, that we received the tourism grant for. So
Is this part
we go.
of the park improvement, the overall project?
this is for the sports park.
Yeah.
And it is an improvement, correct?
Okay,
And you can see from the rendering where the parking lot's going to be.
yep. We've been talking about this for some time.
Yeah, this has been on the Bill O'Fallon Trust Fund list for 2 to 3 years now, and we did not fund it last year, but it was funded this year.
What is the time frame? I know I've asked this before, but what is the time frame on this?
So we'll start, once this is signed, we'll start doing the design and the engineering of it. That'll take a while. So we'll likely go out to bid maybe in the fall, and then depending on the contractor, at the very latest, we'll go out in the spring and get it done next spring.
Good.
Okay. Anybody have any comments or questions? Committee?
I don't remember seeing how many parking spots will this have.
It was over 100, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
Okay. Anybody else? Public? Okay, I hear a motion to send it up.
Second.
We have to have a roll call on this one, so,
Yes, sir. Chair Albrecht,
here, yes?
Vice Chair Carney,
Yes.
Mr. Monroe, Mr. Mylart,
Yes.
Mr. Hudson.
Yes.
Ms. Foney.
Yes.
Mr. Blackburn.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Okay, thank you. This will be on council meeting next week. So now, other business, 3.1, construction update.
All right, some fun construction update, just to kind of continually update everyone with what we're doing in the park. The trail, if you haven't been out there, is well received, lots of great feedback on it. It's a 95% complete now. We have to put a dash line down the middle, and then we have some site cleanup to do as well with the trail and some signage. So a few more things left. We're hoping to get it cleaned up and finished this week, but that's the trail. And again, we have a lot of people on it already. It's, as I said, it's well received, so exciting to see such great community engagement on the trail. The pool, the foundations for Building A, which is the office building, and the the office building, the rental room, the concession stand. We've got that. I've got some pictures up here for you so you can kind of see the behind the scenes, but we've got that foundation, and we've got some electrical going in. You can see that, they're hard at work at it. So we've got a string of good weather lately, so it's exciting to see some progress. So that is where we're at with that. Fencing will go up on this week, probably Thursday, I think, is the latest. It was supposed to go up today, but the fencing contractor just couldn't get out there. They got a couple other projects they have to do as well, but we will surround the, where the new Caven Center is gonna go, we'll surround that area with some construction fencing to keep the camp kids out and general public out, and give the opportunity, and give the contractors room to work. So that will go up this week, and then we'll start grading there next week, hopefully, weather permitting, and if everything falls into place. So again, exciting to see that go forward. Pickleball, you saw this last month, but just as a reminder, pickleball is going forward. So there's the site in Hesse Park, and you can see the pickleball will be on the top there in the front to the north, and then basketball will be to the south. So, and that contractor got their notice to proceed. So we're just in the process of getting a pre-construction meeting scheduled so we can begin that project in June, and then this has a per-contract completion date of early fall, so around September. So we should have some pickleball courts come
I don't
September.
remember, were we replacing that pavilion?
We tore down that pavilion. We will replace it, but just not in this budget year.
Okay.
We got a lot of rentals off of that, so it's we will replace it. Let's see here. Parking lot, parking lot, again, we just talked about that, and you did the resolution on the parking lot, and we kind of talked about the schedule for that. And then tree replacement, we began replacing the trees that we cut down in Community Park this week. We've purchased about 75 trees, and we put 30 of them in the park. They went to the south, of the gravel lot and south of the trail between the baseball field, and then we put some up by Blazer Field and along Highway 50 there. So we put about 30 of them up, and we have quite a few more to go. So we're just kind of at a standstill until the construction gets done, and then we'll start planting more next spring after the buildings and all the stuff is completed. We got a good assortment of trees, and city forester and horticulture, or city forestry, forester staff did a good job of being thoughtful on the trees, planting the right trees, and making sure that the species there are gonna fit with the location. So pretty happy with that whole placement of the trees. And then as a matter of just due diligence, I included the expense tracking report in the agenda, and here it is as well. Not a lot of expenses. We haven't really gotten too many invoices coming in for the actual construction, just some design and consultants invoices to come in. So, and that was all my report for the construction.
I have a question on the Katie Cavens.
Yep.
When they fence it off, Fifth Street's going to stay open, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Fifth Street will stay open, and that's our main thoroughfare to get the camp kids in and out. So we'll want to avoid closing that down as long as we can. So there will be a water line and a sewer line that's going to do temporary closures on Fifth Street. So that'll present a real challenge to our camp staff and our camp parents. But the good news is we see them every day. So we can hand them out flyers saying tomorrow's route is this. So there's going to be a lot of jockeying with our camp parents just to stay ahead or chase the construction project, as I say. But, we do have a solid plan for it, and all the parents have been well informed.
Good, okay.
Okay.
3.2, any comments or questions from the committee? Council? Public?
Ron Zelms, Ward 6. I hadn't thought about it until I saw you doing the striping and the signage on the trail around the community park. I'll probably never walk over there. I always go to Engelman Farm in Shiloh at the county park. one of the things that's gotten more popular, has become a problem or an issue, is bicycles, kids on other stuff. Are there going to be signage or priority as to pedestrians having a right of way, bicycles, kids on scooters, electric scooters, all that kind of stuff? Because I know it starts to be a problem, and especially when someone's coming up from behind you and they scare the bejesus out of you, you don't know what's going on. So just a thought that, I don't know, it's bound to happen that there's going to be people on bikes, kids on electric scooters and everything else, so.
Anybody else?
Vermeer, Ward 3. My question is in regards to the road that goes in to where the tennis courts is at. There before, there was a turnabout in there. Now I know that you got taped off and whatever. What are you planning to do? You plan on making the turnabout, or you cut it off and leave it that you can't turn around there in that area? Thank you.
You want to,
I can respond at the end.
Sure.
Yep.
go ahead.
3.2?
Huh?
Do you want to go to 3.2?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. 3.2 is the District 90 gym usage, a report on the fall usage of the facilities and recreational league. So if you remember last year, about last year at this time, give or take, we entered into our intergovernmental agreement with District 90. And through discussion, we agreed that it's prudent for us to rent the facility for our basketball program for Moy and Marie Schaefer, mostly because we monopolize the facility pretty heavily, and also it prevents them from renting the facility out to other users, potentially generating some extra revenue that the schools needed. So we agreed to rent it, and so I wanted to give council an update. We obviously use that facility from October through March. We're there Monday through Thursday, sometimes on Friday, not very often, and then Saturday. So the total cost to rent that facility was a grand total of $10,456 this year, $8,600 in Moy, and about $1,800 in Marie Schaefer. So well below, I think, what we told you that it was going to be into 2025 at most. And certainly well below some of the numbers that were thrown out there, around $100,000 to rent it. So our program is growing. So I wouldn't say that it will always be this number, but we'll have a new facility to kind of offset the rental of the Moy facility. So you can expect to see this number probably moving forward or pretty close to it. So we're pretty good with this number, and we're able to have a great relationship with District 90. Any days that we're not able to use, we provided back to them to rent to other groups. So again, we had a really successful basketball program this year, and we're proud of the youth sports that we offer the community for sure.
Okay. 3.3. Any comments or questions?
I do have one quick question, Andrew. On the attachments, what's the difference between the two application fees? I see one's significantly higher than the other.
Yeah, I think those application fees, I think she spelled it out, and it probably has to do with the different facilities, different sizes of the facilities, and how much each facility has. Plus there's Moy. At Moy you have the gym and the multi-purpose room, where at Marie Schaefer you just have the gym. So.
Okay. Anybody else? Council? Public? Okay. 3.3.
Yep, 3.3 is just our recreation staff reports that we include every month, just a more inner working or inner document of our inner workings. It's a good read if you want to read through it.
Okay. How did are the number of tournaments improving, staying the same?
At the sports park, we have good numbers. We're pretty much maxed out with baseball, so we can't take any more baseball or softball tournaments.
I know the restaurants can't take them either.
I know, it's kind of crazy to try and get a dinner reservation on Saturday night. You're waiting an hour no matter where you
Yeah.
go. But yeah, they're doing great. I think we can still improve on soccer a little bit. We can certainly get more summer programming, and that's what we're working on now. There are requests for facilities out there that include different sports venues and different sports that are looking for venues to host their stuff, and so we're actively pursuing them right now to see if we can increase our summer rentals for the
Do
soccer
we have
fields.
lacrosse equipment?
We have lacrosse equipment.
Okay.
Are they coming back this summer?
Yeah, lacrosse is going to be there this weekend, I think, so you'll see a bunch of kids out there this weekend, this summer, this Saturday and Sunday, I think it is, playing lacrosse, so
Great,
it'll be busy, really busy.
okay. Anybody have any questions on the maintenance staff report? Committee? Public? Okay, next one is public comments. Anybody have any comments from the public besides the ones that you already did?
I have something I'd like to say.
Yeah.
The way you have the parents dropping off the kids coming in from the east, going to the west, that really helps out the Park Road over there. I think that was a good idea, and I'm glad you did that.
We did it, but it's temporary, and we're going to have to go back as soon as they start taking that sewer line down Park Street. But it's certainly helping for right now. It gets kids in and out of the building, especially on a rainy day, is a lot easier than going the other way. So it's going to be fluid for sure.
I would like to add, I know that Saturday morning was a little damp for the vendors, and I don't know how the attendance was, but it looked like it was relatively good. How'd you do?
About half.
Huh?
About half.
About half? Yeah. But Thursday night was absolutely delightful. Did we get any estimate on the population or the attendance?
Jeez. Besides thousands, no. I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah, it's a guess, I know. You can stand in one place and count the same people.
Yeah, it is. But Thursday night we were out there. We had helped out downtown. Parks and Rec staff had our little area down there. We took care of the bubble bus, and then we had some games and stuff for the kids. But I mean, as you know, if you're down there, every single vendor seemed like they had a line for drinks or food or whatever. So I think there's going to be a full report tomorrow from the chamber. But yeah, I think it was.
Okay, the new lights will be up for next one?
No, the lights are up now. Those are already, and they were.
No, the overhead lights on First Street.
Oh, okay. I thought they were done.
Yeah, so the set of lights came down because they actually raised and extended the poles by 4 feet to keep them out of traffic. Delivery on those lights on the remaining block were 1 to 2 weeks, so we are very hopeful, fingers crossed, that they'll be in for the second district nights.
Okay.
Yep.
Anybody have any other comments or questions? Yeah.
Who's responsible for the cleanup after district nights? Is that a city thing or a chamber thing in terms of the trash in the city trash cans? Not the ones that were brought in by Waste Management, but like the ones that are bolted down.
So the entire area is a special event through the Chamber of Commerce in the Downtown District. So on that night, they're responsible to get the waste in the trash receptacles. Waste Management picks them up on Monday. They weren't ready for the amount of trash that were there, so they actually made 2 trips today, and I believe picked the rest of it up.
I think it'd be appropriate to make another arrangement after the Thursday night thing, because Saturday morning, the trash cans were full. Okay. You had your hand up. She's got 2 hands, she can raise them. Okay, are there any other comments or questions?
Yeah.
Okay, entertain
Well, I can address some of the comments that were made just real quick. One, the bike on the trail. It could be a problem for sure. We have the same issue at the sports park with those bikers and walkers, and we have put up signage there to say respect the walkers. We don't anticipate the trail at Community Park being so small, being really, have a lot of bike traffic. It'll be mostly kids probably learning how to ride bikes or smaller kids, but we'll certainly get signage up there to try and help out that, because we do realize, just like at the sports park, it could be a problem. And then two, the road by the tennis courts, we went back and forth on that turnaround. Because the trail goes through there, we are electing to eliminate that circle turnaround. And I'm sorry, I don't have the picture of it, but if you're familiar with the tennis courts, you would pull in by the tennis courts, and then you could go into like, I don't know, a roundabout, and then turn around and go back out. Well, when we designed the trail goes right through the middle of the roundabout. But after they got done with the construction and putting the drain pipe in there, I think we ultimately decided that we didn't really like that setup. So we are gonna cut off the trail and dead end there, so people will have to pull into the tennis court parking lots and then pull out and go the other way. There'll be no more roundabout, and we'll put bollards there to keep people from driving up onto the traffic. But I think it's safer for the people on the trail, more convenient for people who are trying to turn around, not having to worry about bikers or walkers coming. So we will eliminate that turnaround, and it'll just be a parking lot where you come in, pull into the driveway and pull out, so. Okay.
And Andrew, if I may, the trail signage that the council approved earlier in the spring has begun to be installed. And it does look nice. There's a few locates that were not totally located correctly. So once the project's complete, we'll share some pictures.
Great. Yep. Okay.
Okay, anybody else? Entertain a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Community development in a few minutes.
All right, thank you. I'm going to call the Community Development meeting June 10th to order. If I could, roll call, please.
Chairman Roach.
Here.
Mr. Albrecht.
Here.
Mr. Parchman. Here. Mr. Campbell. Mr. Vorse. Here. Ms. Small here. You do have a quorum, sir.
All right, thank you. First up, 1.3, entertain a motion for approval of our minutes from the May 13th meeting.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, minutes approved. 2.1, ordinance amending ordinance 623, development known as Equipment Share located at 117 Auto Court.
Yes, test. Okay, this is the planned use request for equipment share at 117 Auto Court. The subject property is currently zoned B1 Community Business District. Looking at the surrounding land use map, the subject property is surrounded by an assortment of commercial uses. And looking to the future land use map, the subject property is designated as regional commercial. The proposed use is a equipment rental dealership with an inventory that is consisting of light business support equipment. The proposed use also includes outdoor display of inventory, which requires a planned use approval, which is why this item is here. The site was previously used for pre-owned vehicle sales and insurance offices. What the light business support inventory will consist of, we can summarize that in 4 groups. That's climate control equipment, compressed air, power, and fluids. What the inventory will not consist of is tracked or treaded vehicles, scissor lifts, or backhoe equipment, which is commonly known as a Bobcat or a Caterpillar. None of those equipment will be on site. For parking and circulation, the proposed use meets all of our minimum requirements. And with the use of outdoor display on site, our code does require that a vinyl fence is used for screening. So that does meet our minimum requirement for screening elements. Along with the fencing along the auto court frontage, we are requesting that the applicant include an enhanced landscape frontage to just beautify and enhance that repetitive fencing along auto court. So that will be included in the conditions. For fuel and diesel, there will be a 500 or 1,000 gallon diesel tank on site. It is currently not there, but it will be on site if approved. We did confirm with our deputy fire chief for any additional requirements. He had no additional requirements outside of the state fire marshal's basic requirements, which is included in standard inspection. For utilities, there will be no change to utilities or sidewalks. For signage, there was no signage included in the proposal and will be subject to our minimum signage requirements. That is the end of my presentation. Okay. So I'll move on to the conditions. We are recommending approval of the planned use with the following conditions: that the 6-foot vinyl fence will be required for screening, and then with the enhanced landscaped area along the auto court frontage. The fuel storage area will meet all of the storage requirements of federal, state, and local law, and then also a Knox box will be required for emergency access to the building. So we should have a the applicant either online. I'm not sure if he is. I did send him the login link, and then I'm not sure if we do have a representative from the applicant team here to answer any questions if needed.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions or comments from the committee? From the council? I'm sorry, Jerry.
Yeah, there was a comment on one of your slides down there, no scissor lifts or no, does our ordinance require something different if those kinds of things were there?
No, it was just, it was to try and give you guys a
Information,
clearer
okay.
picture of what's going to be stored there. It's not a big, heavy commercial rental place. It's more business services.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone from the public? Mr. Miller?
Vern Miller, Ward 3. I was just concerned about the diesel fuel tank that you're going to have there. I was just wondering how many gallons it was. I know you have a requirement it's got to meet, but the reference that I worked with was that there had to be a knee wall built around the diesel fuel tank. It also had to have a leak dispenser, a leak detection on the tank. The tank had to be double walled, and I don't know if it's 1,000 gallons or not, but that's what I was familiar working with. So I was just wondering those questions, if there was going to be a leak detection system, a 1,000-gallon tank, and a containment knee wall around the tank. Thank you.
So, Vern, I think I might be able to answer some of that for you. It's a 500-gallon tank that there's currently already a space for, and they would be required to meet all federal, state, and local laws and permitted by the state fire marshal.
I would just want, I mean, I know it's for 1,000-gallon what you got to have. I don't know the restrictions for a 500, because I just used to dealing with 1,000-gallon tanks for the federal government, and since that's what I had to deal with, so I was just asking, I don't own a 500, so let me know and I'd be satisfied to find that answer.
I'm sure we could find out what those regulations were.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Yes.
Parking, it says they have 40 spots, but they're required for 43. Explain.
Yep. Yeah, so with the site having 40, I did go into length explaining that with the previous site ownership intending for those parking spaces to be shared among the different lots, that does create with an opportunity for those extra spaces that are not exactly on the lot, but however they are abutting the building, they can be used easily. And they also, the applicant did inform me that they have a shared access agreement along that north side, including that, including those parking spaces. So with the addition of those spaces on that side, that creates a, Justin, you want to go?
Yeah, so, and then also, I mean, this is a rental facility. The building's very large. Most of it's actually warehouse. So the 40 spaces is just a kind of the 43 that's required is a little bit of a issue with the code not breaking that up into warehouse, which is typically 1 per 1,000 square feet, or 1 per 1,000 square feet versus the 400 for retail. So they've got plenty of parking out there. And they can still park also inside their display area for like employee parking and stuff like that.
Any other questions? All right. Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the committee? No? Roll call, please.
Albrecht. Parchman.
Yes.
Vorse.
Yes.
Roach.
Yes.
All right, this will move forward to City Council on the 17th of June, back here June 24th, and that should be Monday, July 1st, for second reading.
All right, thank you. 2.2, ordinance approving the final plot for the reserves at Timber Ridge West Phase 3.
Yes, so the reserves at Timber Ridge Phase West, Phase 3. The third phase consists of 24 single-family lots. This is the third phase of this development of 117 units. And so Community Development, Public Works staff have reviewed the final plat for reserves at Timber Ridge and recommended the following conditions. The overall number of homes to be constructed in the third phase is limited to 24, and parkland dedication is fulfilled through combination of land dedication and fees totaling $382.82 per house.
Thank you. Anybody on the committee have any questions?
The land dedication, is that a trail or something like
Yeah,
that? And
they're
they'll
giving us,
improve it.
they've given us the land to put the trail from the front of the reserves subdivision down through to Milburn School
Are they paying
Road.
for that, or are we?
We're building it, they gave us the
Okay.
land.
Okay. Any other questions from the council? From the public? All right. Yes.
Vermont Ward 3, could you put the picture of the, yeah, well, thank you. Now, they're looking at that, there's only two ways you can get out of that whole area. One is Posh Road and the other one is Simmons Road, is that correct?
Yes.
Is there any thought that they're gonna take that one road there and connect it to Posh Road, or?
No, this will have 2 points of access, one to Posh and one to.
You only have to have 2 points of access for that whole area? Okay, thank you.
That is a stub out though, so if there was an eventual connection.
Yeah, and this will continue south.
Right.
So it actually, it won't go any further south because you have the large Ogles Creek drainage way through there.
Okay. But if there was something, they could connect to that.
Yeah. And there's another phase, you'll see another phase further south of this subdivision.
Gotcha. Thank you. All right. Any further questions? All right, then I'd entertain a motion for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the committee? Roll call, please.
Parchman.
Yes.
Vorse.
Yes.
Roach.
Yes.
Albrecht.
Yes.
All right, and again, this will follow the same path with first reading on June 17th.
All right. And a very exciting and fun topic, food trucks.
Yeah, so Grant Lidekin and I will kind of present this to you guys. There's no action item to this, but after last meeting and the food truck that was proposed at Mirage Liquor on Highway 50, felt like it was probably a good time to do a little history lesson on food trucks, as well as kind of maybe doing some cleanup within the ordinances to help address some of the concerns that were raised and keep moving forward on food trucks. So I'll turn it over to Grant to get started.
Thank you, Justin. Believe it or not, 7 years ago is when we created this ordinance, and I think I was looking at the roster, and there's only 2 council members that was on that board at the time. So, real quick history lesson. When we began that conversation in 2017, it was a little bit of the Wild West in O'Fallon and everywhere around. Walter and I talked to many of our peers and neighboring communities, and everybody was dealing with the same situation at the same time. And that situation was that there were no rules or regulations, fees, fines, processes, or anything for food trucks. We were getting food trucks in O'Fallon and in other communities. They would pull up, start serving their goods and their foods, and there was nothing we could do about it. So I'm gonna take this on the drive. Same time we were building the O'Fallon station, so there was a large concern about the introduction of food trucks at like the Vine Street Market and stuff, and how it would impact brick and mortars. Over a couple of months, I had met with a lot of businesses in downtown and the city, food truck operators and owners, many members of the city council, and residents of O'Fallon. We can share the agenda item from 18 with you, and it has a lot of comments still in there from council members. In the end, I mean, we're in the same situation we were when this ordinance was created. All parties desired a delicate balance of being welcoming to food trucks and entrepreneurs, yet not wanting to negatively impact brick and mortars and other business owners that are in town. So, like I said, same situation, different year. Finally, what we got down to was an ordinance crafted that made food trucks part of a special event permit process. And the theory behind that is because it's impossible to legislate and determine every facet and detail of a food truck, hours of operation, how far they're away from businesses, what they're serving, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's what we did. We created a basic requirement for a safe food truck through the St. Clair County Health Department. They come into the city of O'Fallon, they get their permit to operate a food truck in the city of O'Fallon, but even with the license, that doesn't give them permission to go out and sell food. Their permission to go out and sell food is through the special event process. Again, we did that because as we went through these meetings with our business owners, you know, some people wanted 200 feet from a local business, some it was 1,000 feet from the front door. Believe it or not, Walter and I were joking about this morning, some person in downtown wanted French fries banned from any food truck. So that's why it continues to be a special event process today. It is impossible to legislate and craft a law that details every new venture in a food truck. So this was crafted again 7 years ago. This is our current process. It's really two separate processes that act conjoined. So a mobile food vendor, they invest in a food truck, they go to St. Clair County Health Department, that food truck gets inspected the same way we inspect our restaurants for food, health, and safety. They receive that food safety license, then they bring that to City Hall, they talk to Misty or Cameron here, and then we issue them a food truck license permit. It has to go in their window cling. We do charge a fee for that. It's an annual fee. They have to renew it every year. After that, then a special event permit process starts, whether it's the food truck owner or it's somebody who owns a property that wants to invite a food truck to operate at that special event. That is when we get to ask the questions as staff to determine, you know, what's the impact to present to the city council. All those things like what are they serving, how far are they away from others. And so that's where we're at today. So the special event permit is created so that the city council has the ultimate authority over them. The ordinance over food trucks is a basic minimum to make sure they're safe and they're complying with the licenses that we have in town. So up until this day, every food truck by ordinance at the desire of the city council at that time was to be presented to the city council. And that is why you see it still today every time there's a food truck. Bridging on special events that are not including a food truck, staff, through Community Development Director Justin, can approve special events that are less than 3 days in a row. They're less than 4 times in a calendar year. And anything approved by the city council that has stayed substantially the same over that previous 2 years. So there's a lot of special events that you guys do not review because they meet that criteria. What you do have to see and approve and read through are any event not meeting the criteria listed above or the numerous other requirements in our ordinance, or, and again, by the desire of the council in 2018, any special event that includes a food truck. So that's where we're at. Staff, after the last food truck permit that was denied by the city council, we heard some questions about, well, there's nothing in the ordinance that prohibits that operation. That is by design up until this point, because the city council is the ultimate authority on deciding those special event permits when it involves a food truck. So we're here to really listen to the city council, hear your desires, what you would want to do. Speaking with Justin, myself, and Walter, and a few others, One thing we would suggest, and we have suggested for a couple years when the time is right, is to move that food truck approval into a staff review, so we don't have to inundate the council every time, just these one-day food trucks. And I'll give you an example. The school invites a coffee truck a couple times a year to hand out coffees to their teachers, and it's typically given to us about 3 o'clock in the afternoon when they're supposed to be there at 7 a.m. in the morning. And more times than not, we have to tell them, sorry, you're gonna have to cancel that coffee truck because we don't have time to get to city council. So we would like to see staff have more ability to approve those food trucks that are kind of just ho-hum and routine, and don't really have any concerns from staff-wise. You know, there's a lot of other things the city council has an option or considerations of, and we're here to listen. At the end of the day, we're here to administer the food trucks as you guys see fit.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that. And I appreciate us talking about this because I do think, you know, ultimately the discussion we had a few weeks ago was good because it did bring up some points and some things that I think, you know, over the years we now see where we can improve, not only for, I think, the administration with the council, but also for the benefit of those food truck operators and the businesses and other folks in the community that want to have them. So the example you mentioned with the school is a perfect example. For my thoughts personally, I think the idea of allowing for staff approval to try to make the process a little bit smoother and operate a little bit more coherently, I think is great. I do think your second question is that there should be limits on the number of days, time period, maybe even location that they're allowed to operate. So I think that's maybe a broader discussion if we're going to have it today or not. But I would say that there's probably some things that I would say the staff, if it's X amount, you can approve it. If it's over this, it needs council approval. If it's over that, we don't even allow it at all, so don't even bring it to us. Yeah. That's kind of my 2 cents.
And I think that's the feedback we're looking for from you guys tonight is what, you know, we've had several food truck events like at Corporate Crossing where they'll come in for a 6-month period, one day, like every Wednesday they'll have a food truck approved to go there for, you know, the summertime or 6-month period. We've approved those in the past, you know, so 1 day a week may be okay. Obviously the 5-day a week, I think it really began to push up against what are we doing here. So what that number is, you know, Grant and I were talking about it. Is it 1 day, 2 days? Did we pull one out of the hat? And, you know, what is that number? And then, yeah, really, the location thing, I do think that becomes a little bit burdensome to regulate. So I just would be interested, you know, on that a little bit more.
The only thing I meant by location is there may be certain locations that the city council still does want to approve.
Oh, yeah, that could make sense, yeah. Like if it's in the downtown district or, okay, yeah, understood. Yeah, that's a good thought.
That was more what I was thinking. There may be areas that we may still want to see. But thoughts from the rest of the committee?
All right. One thing that Sandy and I talked about, it's kind of not on like location or competitiveness, but was just on the taxing and the revenue that's actually brought in and the 1% sales tax. From the finance perspective, Sandy and I kind of discussed this might be a nightmare, but it's something to think about, is maybe like per day charge like $15 for any food vendor that's in O'Fallon. That way we're insured to get that fee for that, because if they're not, most food trucks probably aren't going to pull more than $1,500 unless it's a great event, maybe $2,500, but if they pay $15 per day, then every food truck that's in O'Fallon, whether they're at the downtown district, that could be a different one because they're already paying the fee to be there. But it was just something to think about, like when we do food vendor events as Nitro, if we had to throw in $15 to be at downtown districts, I'm cool with that. I mean, that way, and then we would still pay the 1%, but a lot of the food trucks come in, they do their thing, and then they're gone, and we don't see any of that tax revenue. So I don't know if that $15 per visit would be more of administrative nightmare, then it would be helpful, but it was something that would ensure we would receive revenue from that. And they would have to pay that ahead of time, or otherwise we wouldn't approve it through staff. So that was something Sandy and I talked about.
They do pay, so if the food truck were to apply, so so if a food truck is going to be at a open house or for a business, that business owner, if they're not for profit, has to pay a $50 special event permit fee. So you could tack it onto that if that's something you would be interested in. So administratively, it wouldn't be a terribly difficult thing. But again, you also have to, it's hard because every food truck, I don't go to all of them, but if they're only here for 2 hours and they sell, $1,000 worth of food, that 1%, it just doesn't add up real quickly, right? And so, sometimes even those reports, it may look like they're not reporting, but in all actuality, if they only returned us $10, I mean, 1% of $1,000 doesn't go very far, so. But yeah, I mean, that's something that could be looked at easily. The one that it does get a little bit more difficult, so like Grant mentioned the schools, because they're a nonprofit, right, we waive that $50 special event permit.
Now, wouldn't the sales tax be waived if they're serving non-for-profit?
They would if the non-for-profit agency is buying all the food and drink up front.
So if it was like the coffee one, where the school's paying, delivering to everybody, yes. But if they're just coming to the parking lot and letting whoever come by.
They'll charge that tail sales tax on it.
Gotcha, okay.
Yep. And auditing that becomes very difficult. Obviously, you're talking about a couple dollars here and there. And with this workforce, we're paying people a lot more to go out and check, especially on weekends.
Squeeze,
yeah. Yeah, and then if it's on the weekends, like Graham mentioned, I mean, you're paying potentially overtime, and so.
Yeah, I do think if you had some type of additional fee.
Just a fee on top.
Even if it wasn't 15, if it was 5, something.
Yeah.
Maybe that makes sense, but other thoughts? Tom?
As far as an additional fee or anything, I don't know. I'm all for, tacking on $5 or $10, I guess, for tax, but like they said, it's so minimal that it might not be worth the trouble.
But any comments on other approval for the staff or regulation on operations?
I think staff ought to have increased approval capabilities for, the trucks that were mentioned and, others like that. I'm really kind of torn on food trucks. I am interested in the discussion because I could go both ways, I guess. I don't know. Let's see what Jerry has to say.
Okay. Any thoughts?
Solve my itch.
I guess my question for the committee is, you give more staff ability to keep these, off your plate. How the ordinance reads today is anything that we don't approve administratively is going to go to the city council. So is there a strong desire by the council to put guidelines where it's, nope, that's too much, we don't even want to see it? That's the language we have to put in the ordinance. If the council doesn't want a food truck on the same property for 5 days in a row, then that's what we need to know, because we can put that in the ordinance and then make the rules of it, and when somebody comes in and says, I want to do 5 days a week, we can say, sorry. That's kind of what we're looking from the council for. While we want to make it easier on the council, we also need to have a little bit of guidance on what's too much. And if the council's not comfortable saying there's no limit, then everything will continue to go to the council when we don't feel like it meets that administrative approval level. And that may be your decision as well.
Yeah. We'll open up to council.
I think my problem is the length of time. 5 days a week, 6 months. That's not what I envisioned for that truck, for that food truck. I think 3 days, 4 days, not for 6 months, just a real general short period of time, I think what I'm in favor with. I don't want to take anything away from a private business or anything like that, somebody trying to make money, but I don't think that's what this is intended for.
Yeah.
Jessica?
Would it be worth, so if the differentiator was whether the food truck is tied to an actual event or not? Let me rephrase that. If most of the food trucks that have been approved in the last couple years, have they been tied to actual events?
Yes, they're required to all be part of a special event.
The only, it would be, okay, so like the Corporate Crossing group,
Okay.
right? That group of businesses that they wanted to have a food truck Friday for their employees. Is that an event or is that not an event? I mean,
And it's open to more.
it would be open to the public
It's
too.
not just for
so
their
Okay.
event.
I don't know how you
Yeah.
would classify that
So, but
one,
my-
but
so my que-
all the other ones, yes. they
Okay,
are
so that was
tied
my
to some
question.
type
Like,
of
in
event.
general, we're mostly seeing food trucks are tied to what a reasonable person would define as an actual event.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
So that could be, I mean, that to me is a reasonable differentiator. Like, if you guys talk to the person, and it sounds like this, like, to me, the school's bringing something in, that's a special event. It's a one-time thing, a couple times a year they're doing for teachers, that's great. But any repetitive things that really isn't tied to an event, maybe that's what triggers it to go to council. And then it makes it a little easier to be able to say, we all have to see what the council, because this council feels differently than council did 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
Right.
So leave it up to the council who's currently seated to see what they think is what they want in their community.
Yeah, I think the difficulty for the staff will be when you get ambiguous language, them trying to decide what an event is and what isn't.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, if it's a 5K, right, that's an event. If it's somebody that's trying to have a food truck every
I'm
Friday.
not saying it's difficult for you, I'm saying
Yeah.
it's difficult for the person who's applying who wants to argue that it's,
yeah.
you get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
you don't have anything to point to, it's your opinion. They
Right.
may not like your opinion.
Well, they can always just go to the city council.
They just bother you guys.
There is a caveat in the staff approval that says if the director doesn't feel comfortable, it automatically goes to the city council.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have that out. And I could just say, look, guys, I don't believe this is an event. I believe this is something that you want to have prolonged timing on. I think you need to go to city council. And there's even an appeal process that if they don't like my determination, then they can have a hearing in front of Walter or our zone hearing officer. So
Gotcha.
there's a remedy for it.
And events in the park are treated differently, correct?
Yes. Yeah. And yeah, that's another, so if anything in the park is administered by Andrew and his staff. So that's why you don't see like when well, you'll see the firework display because it's going to be blocking off roads, but you know,
like
they
when
have
there's-
food trucks there, but
we're
you're
not
not
food,
approving the
yeah.
food trucks in there.
So when
Same
there are
thing
food
with
trucks
Vine
at
Street.
tournaments at the sports park, that's handled administratively already.
So between Andrew and you, I mean, is there anything to be sure that we're being consistent in our judgment of what's the
Number of
event
days,
is? And
number of days and duration is what the greatest direction we could have. When they come in and ask, how often can I have it parked out there, is the main thing we get.
So I would say if we could get you guys to agree to 1 day a week, 2 days a week, 3 days a week, 4 days a week.
So when would a special permit last 6 months? Like, or a special event? Like
Vine Street
just-
Market.
Vine Street Market.
Or the one you were talking
But
about.
that's in the park, kind of. That's a
Well,
city
no, that's
property. It's not?
It's on the roadway and.
Oh, okay.
But
So
the
that's
one
an
you were
example of one.
mentioning-
Like Keller's food stand, or the corn stand, they do like, I think they're 2 months. They've got they do a flower stand out there for a couple months. The garden center at like Ace and those kind of things, they go for multiple months.
Those are special events, but they're not food trucks.
Right.
So, any other yes?
Yeah, I'm okay, Justin and Grant, with staff approving those. I mean, we're 6 years into it, and this is the first real conversation we're having on it. But that's good because it brought up an anomaly that we're not seeing every day. So I think the fact that the gentleman that applied for it has not made any effort to be part of what we consider in the past a food truck business, and possibly maybe even selling it, shows he was never really interested in the food truck angle of it. He was interested in having a restaurant basically parked on his parking lot. So I think that's what has to be addressed when we look at a special event. You know, what is special about it that goes outside of your normal day of operations? It has to be something, you know, if you're doing an employee recognition every Friday, that is something that is a special event within that organization. I think that's where if you could look at it, special event, what is it? And as far as limitation on days, if the same food truck wanted to be out 5 days in 5 different locations, I don't have a problem with that. But I think we have to look at what are some of the bigger events we have. What is the length of that, that we would want to define what the special event is. The market is every Saturday for a fixed period of time. The food trucks don't stay the whole time. So that's where I'm at with it. As far as days, if you guys could look at some, go backwards maybe, get a better feel for how true food truck business operators are using their service, then maybe make some recommendations to us that, you know, based on the events that we have, to me, a food truck's got to come and it's got to go. It just can't be parked. But I'm not against food trucks at different events, because I think, as Jerry pointed out, or somebody did, our restaurants are packed, especially on the weekends and in the evenings. So the food trucks aren't hurting anybody as we thought, and we have kept them out of the downtown for the most part. But I'm all right with staff approving it. Like I said, we're 6 years into it, and we really, this is the first time we've had a challenge, and it was an anomaly, you know, so I'm good with that.
Yeah, well, we were talking about it earlier, and we can't think of any event that goes more than 1 day that's not in a park. That's not in a park. Yeah. So you think about tournaments at the sports park, you think about City Fest, a community park, but those are things that are already handled administratively. This, you know, farmers markets 1 day.
There's a conference potentially that would have like a 2 or 3 day, but again, the food truck needs to be moved within the 24 hours.
And maybe that's part of the regulation.
Yeah, I mean, we
can't stay for more than.
We can look back and see, again, 6 or 7 years, this is the first time we've talked about it, because really food trucks, they don't keep us up at night. It's not that big of an issue. But it is good to clean up the language. Staff can bring you guys back some information on, you know, is it 2 days and the truck can't maintain there the whole time? How many days a week, and we'll get back with you guys.
I think you're right. The only one I can remember was at there was a conference
at the Regency.
That was, I think it was actually for the police group, FOP group.
They're over there.
There you go.
Yes.
Church or something like that, and says they want a permit for a day,
Yeah.
that's okay. You
Yeah.
have a list of things you. Does everybody apply for one of these permits? Or
Supposed to.
will that kind of slide around?
We do from time to time have to, you know, get a tip or something. Again, going back 7 years, we were getting them a lot at the Park and Ride out at Scott Troy Road. They'd come in. But yes, typically Misty at the clerk's office and Cameron have a great relationship with everybody that does special events, and they walk them through. And we actually have a list of food trucks that are all permitted to operate in the city of Will Fallon. And so if they say, oh, I'm thinking about a food truck, we'll hand them that list and say, here's the approved food trucks. If you have a food truck in mind, let them know they have to get permitted through us first, and then.
And the schools often used them on their concert nights for choir or band concerts. They'd have a food truck out front.
Yeah, that goes back to special.
Yep.
And it's a time limit there.
Right.
And I think that's what the problem was with the 6 months. It was just, it was overwhelming, I think.
I don't disagree with you. I thought that was a little overboard in the request, and so I think to clean up some of that stuff is kind of what we're here to do tonight.
So do you have what you need, or are you still looking for a magic number?
It's pretty clear. The question remains that I have is there a threshold on that's too much and we don't want to even entertain the motion? Again, or do you want to see them all if they don't meet the criteria? If staff doesn't approve them, do you want to see them?
I would say if staff doesn't approve them, I would say that is worthy of a visit to council.
You have that now.
Correct.
Yep.
But it'll still cut down significantly
Yes.
on the number that actually come before council.
95%.
And
a
it
lot of
enables
the-
people to do them last minute rather than having to
Yeah.
wait till a council approval.
That's what I think it
Yeah.
will solve a lot of, because we get a lot of people, well, I'm just going to have to cancel my event. That's like, well, I'm sorry, but that's the rules, so.
The only thing I would say, I would want to see a limit that we wouldn't approve anything that's more than 3 days.
Well, and that's, so
In
that, I
one
mean.
location.
Yeah,
I could see
well,
them going multiple events, but 3 days in one location. So to give you an example, the one that was 5. Now, if the staff wanted to approve it within 3 days, that's fine, but or if maybe at the threshold's 2 and then it goes to council 3, I don't know. But to me, more than 3 days in any one location for a 6-month period, you're now really a restaurant.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know,
So the code says if the event's more than 3. So let's say that the food truck wanted to operate for 4 days there, that would have to come to council.
what I'm saying is I would put in the ordinance it's not even allowed.
Not even allowed. Okay.
Right, that's what I'm asking. Is there a threshold where you say too many days for a food truck
At one location.
at one location? Don't even take the application.
That's my opinion.
I'd like to see special consideration if you're parking your own food truck on your own property, that may be considered separately, versus someone that randomly parks around the city.
What do you mean by your own property? So like if I,
Sugar Fire.
Well, those are, yeah, but they're not Sugar Fire's not operating their food truck there. They're just putting it there.
They'd have to come and get a special
They'd have-
event.
Yeah.
but the other thing is, if you open it up to, that means I could go buy a sliver of land and then I could just operate a food truck all day on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We wouldn't want that.
Technically, they're supposed to have a commissary kitchen that they need to go clean up at after each event. So, I mean, if they're just sitting there, they're using the water out of the tanks versus a commissary kitchen. So, unless they're bagging it all up and taking it somewhere else in their car and then coming back, I mean, they're not doing what they're supposed to anyway, so.
Yeah, that's with the health department. We don't inspect that.
Well, someone mentioned about having a truck, even if it's multiple days, it can't stay there. It has to leave and come back within a 24-hour period.
And
That would
I
be
think that's
something
easy.
to put in there.
Yeah, that's pretty easy to do.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. And I do think the fee per day,
Okay.
Yeah, I got that
I
note.
mean, you could maybe come up with something that's reasonable. I don't know what number it is, but
How about something like 5 days or longer, then it's brought to us? 3 days?
No. Total.
That would be
We're
all of
already
them. I'd
past
say.
what we,
Yeah.
I think you pass an ordinance that solidifies clear-cut guidelines to staff.
Yeah.
And if they deny it, then they bring it to us. But I think we want to take the ambiguity out of it so
Right.
we can make that decision
Yep.
based on what we're sharing tonight.
yeah. I don't want people to be like, well, that's your opinion, my opinion's different. I would rather it be as clear-cut as possible for you and for those who are applying. That way, there's no argument. It makes it much, to me, would be easier. Not that you guys can't decide, I just wouldn't want to put you in that position.
I think you're gonna really have to define location very, very clearly.
It would be the same property.
But, like, that's the thing, like, if you're here one day, like, you know what I mean? I just think you need to be very specific in what.
Yeah, I mean, we will administer those. I mean,
Right.
doing this long enough, we've seen most of the tricks. Yep. I appreciate that.
What you guys do.
Yep.
My 2 cents.
Yep, no, appreciate that.
I'm just curious, is there any interest in the council, like with the downtown area because of the sensitivity, is there any interest, I could go either way, with saying that those always have to come to the council?
So I'll preface that if it's on city property,
It's going to come to
it's
us.
coming to you regardless. So I'm trying to think.
Because if you close a road, it comes city council.
So First Street, right? That's all city property. So you're,
Let's take, not that Leona's going to do this, but Leona's got a little bit behind their fence if they wanted to park on.
Or the bank property across
The bank
property, yeah. So there would be a couple, yeah, you're right. There would be a couple spots that could probably put one on. Like,
I mean, I could go either way, but I could also see where we might want to approve those just because of the sensitivity of all the downtown businesses there.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily have to be an ordinance as well. That can be just a directive from the council that everything in the downtown district needs council approval.
yeah, that's not tough.
Yeah, it appears to me that what's going on here is, does a special events permit requirement or application form have a block on it that says, will there be a food truck?
Yes.
It does. And then it should say, here's what you need to do.
Yep.
That solves about 90% of the problem.
Yep.
Yes.
That's what we have
The rest
to
of
do.
them,
Yeah. I think we got a pretty clear picture. We
I mean,
can,
we don't get special events permits for more than one day usually,
not very often. No,
maybe
you're right.
2 days.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I get, the
Approve
only,
Special events permit, you approve the food truck for the special event.
yeah.
And then this problem goes away, except for somebody who's trying to go into the restaurant business without having to build a building and pay property tax.
Yep. Okay.
All right. Anything else from the council before we move on?
So Justin will have something back.
Tomorrow.
Tonight by 8.
Yeah, I'll have this. Yeah, probably. Well, let me do some research on some other communities, how they kind of handle this, and
Maybe next month?
Maybe next month we can come back and have a little more, maybe a draft ordinance for you guys to look at.
That'd be great. Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you all for the discussion. I think it's really good. All right, moving on to 4.1, public comments. Any public comments?
I'm enjoying the cool air conditioning. Ron's on Ward 6. Every time I go to Menards and out Central Park, I always keep looking at the Central Park multi-use redevelopment. Can you give me a 30 seconds? Anything going to happen out there? I know there's infrastructure that went in a couple years ago, and now it just seems to go, ugh. I know the hotel moved out to Regency Park. Do you think anything will happen?
Yeah, so actually, we issued on Friday a footing and foundation for the first set of apartments out there. So, yeah. So hopefully we'll see some more activity there soon.
Awesome. All right. Yes, sir.
Vernon Ware, Ward 3. In hearing all your conversation about food trucks is really interesting. I just had a thought for you you might want to consider also. I don't know what it's worth, but the fact of the matter, when you do all this and you compute this and whatever, then, for example, are you going to email your alderman and let them know that this may occur because maybe some person don't like it, and maybe they would contact your alderman, and then the alderman gets contacted and he's caught flat-footed, and maybe he doesn't know that this is occurring maybe in their ward or somebody else's ward. Might be a way to make sure that they can find out about it. And my other point is, you got a whole bunch of property out there in, I may have mentioned this before, the Offenburg Auto Mall area. You could screen that area and put food trucks out there and not going to bother anybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional comments? Nobody's online? All right, well then, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.
Can we have back?